And I think this thing is live. Oh, 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 ah, oh. Are you ready? I said, are you ready? Yes, it is. We're just blowing up that squad. Back with another one. Back with another D spot. Yes, indeed. It is Monday. It is that 9th of June. And it is, of course, time for a D spot. Welcome, everybody. We are going to unpack that gut punch to Spain and the fans following last night's 2-2 draw, the 5-3 loss on penalties against Portugal in the Nations League final. My goodness, this is, of course, going to be a bit of a Barça-centric meltdown, if you will. Maybe because Luis de la Fuente, certainly not his name, some calling him Luis de la Cope, pulled some, let's call it head-scratching substitutions moves. We already saw it in the starting 11. He left Spain with 0 Barça players on the pitch in extra time. Was it an anti-Barça conspiracy? We will address the topic just to please the Madrid-based media. We're going to dive into that. We will dive into the stats. I personally don't think so. I will tell you at the top of the show. But hey, what will it mean for Spain's World Cup hopes? Plus, we will get to the nitty-gritty of the Barça world called the Planet Barça. So, without any further ado, let's get nasty, sons. Welcome to the show. Another little intro. Another little tune. It is D-Spot in the end, so you know what the deal. You know who is back. Back up in the house. It is another D-Spot D-Spot production. And you know what? The D-Spot production has been letting me down just slightly. I have to address the latency issue, the lag over here. What is happening? I've got state-of-the-art equipment. All I did was play around just a little bit with the settings for the microphone. I did acquire a DAW. I did acquire a few fun toys. Got this perfect, beautiful Shure microphone as well to bless this voice. But what has happened to the delay? Why this latency? Why this not being able to be in sync when all I want to do is spit some bars and have it be in sync and show off another one of my passion, another one of my talents. In any case, we are here, of course, today to address the elephant in the room. It was pitched to be a Lamine Yamal against Cristiano Ronaldo showdown. And it turned out to be, well, an applause for the old man. An applause for Grandpapa. Cristiano. Yes, you said, well, I understand you are surprised. The applause are indeed for the Cristiano Ronaldo fanboys and the man himself at the old age of 40. Getting another notch on the belt. The Nations League, never going to be the major tournament, but we have a lot to uncover. And I know I had a lot of you waiting to either hear from me, see from me, had this moment prepared to see a Lamine freeze out, because there's no other way to put it. Really, a Lamine Yamal that was a no-show in this final, and that is now on the receiving end of some criticism. We're going to get into that. Nuno Mendes, my God, that is a name I absolutely wanted to mention here. What a game he had. Is he potentially a Lamine stopper, shot blocker? Is he nullified him on the day? I mean, Nuno Mendes, I think he got the MVP. I was just checking on that. Here it is. Did he? Yeah, he did. Named? No. Yes, he did. He did. Well, I mean, obviously him and Cristiano were the heroes for Portugal. Both scoring, pulling a comeback as Spain pulled away initially. But Nuno Mendes with an absolute banger. He deserved it. Cristiano deserved it too. I'm not going to make... I called him Cristiano Botoxo. That's right. Cristiano Botoxo. My goodness. I mean, my man. Take it easy. You don't need it. You're a good-looking man already. You have done enough to the face, the structure of your face. To on top of that, put all of that shit. I mean, does it make him hit the ball better or what? Botoxo. Take it easy on that. It's not a good look, my friend. Not at a certain age. Like me, it would be me putting on some Botoxo myself and sitting here, with this stretched out forehead. That at some point in time, it's like, let it go. Let it go. Just let it go. Go with the flow, baby. You've done it. You've achieved everything that most mortal men, such as myself, will never achieve. Leave the skin drag and drop and sag and melt on your face. Your bones, the muscle structures, it changes over time. Cristiano Botoxo, don't do it. Not a good look. Anyway, some took issue. Some saw the humor in it. He might be in the running now. Some say for the Botox de Oro, obviously. The Botox de Oro, the Balón de Oro, excuse me, talks have now heated up again. Where does Lamine Yamal rank after the final disappearance in the final? Is he still on par with Dembele? It was Dembuz and Lamine Yamal in the front runner in head to head. Mbappe was a forced third, as I mentioned on the Churros podcast on Friday. But this Nations League almost made it look like Lamine has got a chance to get one over Mbappe. He certainly did in the semifinal. Let's not kid ourselves. The kid made light work of Dembuz and company, Le Bleu, on the day and had a phenomenal match. But we got to say it like it is. And for all of you that call me a blind, biased, fanatical, radical Barça fan, maybe not always, because it was pretty obvious that last night Lamine didn't have one of those most inspiring games, and we're going to get into that. So I hope everybody is doing good. I hope everybody has enjoyed their weekend and is ready to face the week. It is the 9th of June. We are nearing the summer months. It is already very hot here in Barcelona, and maybe that is a reason for the lag. I'm trying to figure out why this lag is happening. It's very annoying. I want it to be a professional production here at B Spot as well as Churros, but things like this, man, they really rub me the wrong way. So if anybody has any idea why this latency, why the system, the audio, and the visuals are not in sync and how I can optimize it, do let me know, because this is new. And what I was usually used to is just it's an overheating of the laptop itself. But, it's one of the new MacBooks. This shouldn't be happening. In fact, one of the reasons why I acquired the new equipment was to precisely avoid these kind of issues. I've got a fan blasting it, trying to make sure it doesn't get too hot. We do live in an attic, so maybe that has something to do with it. Anyway, I don't want to bore you with the technical issues. I'm sorry for those that are tuning in for the video. I am planning on putting the audio only out and, create a sort of podcast style of D-Spot as well, as opposed to just and only relying on the video. We're not live today. The reason for that is as well because it is lag. I'm going to try to see if I can actually sync it, on just edit that on a video editor here and at least fix the audio. So sorry for not being able to take your questions. I will jump over to your questions though, those of you that are subscribed to Churros on Patreon. And again, for those of you that want to support independent content creators in its maximum expression, head on over to churros.com patreon.com/churros y tácticas to become a member. Or also, there's memberships here via YouTube memberships. I much appreciate. Back to the game, shall we? Back to the question at hand. Let's leave the tunes and the rhymes for another times. Spain started strong, right? We had Thubimendi that struck first for Spain. It was Oyarzabal and Zubimendi that came up with the goods in terms of goals, and that Nuno Mendes and Cristiano Ronaldo strike that then eventually forced the whole game into extra time. The shootout, Alvaro Morata had to come on and had to miss. Diogo Costa with, can you call it a good save? It was a poorly taken penalty. It handed Portugal their second Nations League title. Spain now tied with Spain. Spain could have been the increasing their dominance. I think it started in 2019. It's now 2-all. So the peninsula, the Iberian Peninsula, having a monopoly over the 4-year-old Nations League tournament. The stats showed that Spain were slightly more dominant, perhaps in creating shots and in possession of outrightly so. Not that you can expect Spain not to have the possession against this Portugal side. I thought we were favorites. I thought we were in for a final that was really going to cement Spain's dominance over European football in lead up to the World Cup as well. And a lot of people have now put that in question as well. It's kind of like, how does this Spain side look ahead of the 2026 World Cup? I think it's a valid question. I think we're going to get into it as well, because those that I hold even dear, that said Spain was a well-coached team, even the best coached team, I think have now been put, have been shown aside, that at the very least, clearly contradicts their opinion, their take, their conclusion as to why Spain has been so successful. No Barça players were left on the pitch. There's a lot of fanfare, spectacle surrounding the reasons why. As to the reasons why, there is clearly been a lot of pressure from the nation's capital to make this Spain side less Barça heavy. After, it's not the first time, after so many years of prominent Barça players being the protagonists, and I'm using my words lightly here, of La Roja, of this Spain team, of Tiki Taka, leading them to success, back to back to back success, historic success in the Euro Cups, in the World Cup, and in the Euro Cup once again, just recently. Now, the Nations League was almost seen as a definite triumph trophy that Spain was going to bag, and Lamine Yamal was going to be the standout superstar to do so, and in a figuratively symbolic way, retire Cristiano Ronaldo. That was how this Nations League final clash was billed as. I get it. I talked about it before. Whether it's Lamine against Mbappe, Lamine against, in this case, Cristiano, or Lamine against whoever he will face in next season, in the upcoming future, he is the poster boy, the star boy for both Barça and España. Portugal yesterday fought back. I thought Nuno Mendes looked, he's quality. He's quality. I think we also need to recognize that Dean Hauser was the cause for Spain to then allow Cristiano Ronaldo to score Portugal's second. He allowed that, or he wasn't, he didn't put the offside trap, right? He allowed him to be on side. It was an offside error for the Dutch Spanishman. And extra time came down to shootout. At that point, all three of Spain's best players, most prolific, offensively prolific players in the build-up, in the finishing, I'm talking about Pedri, I'm talking about Lamine Yamal, and of course Nico Williams as well, had all been taken out. Instead, it was Morata who would come on, Pino, I think it was, and Isco. And although I'm not really gonna hold anything against Enisco. I thought he brought some spark. I think, and that's a whole nother debate that I want to get into. Is Luis de la Fuente playing Pedri in the right position, more offensive, closer to the 18-yard box, or in that position that Hansi Flick has really brought the best out of the Canary, the man from the Canarias, in a deeper role where he brings the ball up. He's more involved in the build-up. I think that is something that a lot are holding against Luis de la Fuente. I don't think that necessarily he needs to be sacked, but I do question why de la Fuente chose to leave on the bench names like Dani Olmo, Fermin Lopez. Why, to the life of me, he didn't even call up an Alejandro Balde. I know that I often sit here and am critical and ask about, or put into question rather, the unnecessary minutes that a Pedri, that a Gavi also, of course, and a Fermin Lopez have played for Spain, mainly in those unnecessary, quote unquote, unnecessary friendly matches, group matches, build up matches towards the grand finale in this case, and then not use any of them. Cubarsí, for crying out loud. Pau Cubarsí. You know what I mean? Alejandro Balde, Dani Olmo. I mean, the champions of the best or second best league in the world, the champions of the Copa del Rey, the champions of the Supercopa, the team that has played the most exciting, best offensive football in Europe, have all not contributed to Spain's failure in this final. And I say that despite highlighting and noting that a Lamine Yamal and the Pedri as well were clearly not in their best. In Pedri's case, I agree with many of the criticism that is and the questions that is have been posed towards Luis de la Fuente. Why are you forcing this man in a different position? We saw a lot of images of Pedri, and I can't pull them up because of copyright, but being quite publicly disgruntled with, we don't know why, we can interpret why, but, you know, kind of talking to, you see him talking to Cubarsí, you see him talking to other teammates, and we don't know what is being said. They're doing a mafioso, like, what a motherfucker, I'm being put in this position, man. Why does he put me in this position? I can't for the life of me understand. I'm not a finisher. I build that up. I get the ball from the back. Run with it. Got that vision. Spot motherfuckers making their run into the final third. I explored that space. I'm not there to be in the final phase. I build up. I imagine conversations were exactly like that in English, in that accent, for the man from the south of Spain, the island of the Canarias. There's no doubt. Why? Why keep Cubarsí on the bench? Hauser, I think, and I'm not being biased here, the boy is Dutch and Spanish. Similar to myself. He doesn't have Spanish blood, but he did live here since the age of 5. So we are more or less on par. I'd like to think that I'd be able to choose whether I play for Orange or La Roja, and it will be a tough decision. When I was a kid, I'd put myself in that position many a time, and I would usually choose Orange, and therefore I hate Hausen. No, I'm joking. I think he's a fine defender, central defender. I think Lormont is a fine central defender. I don't think Cubarsí would have been the game changer on this occasion. I do wonder, though, why you wouldn't choose one of the best defenders in Spain right now and force a Heiser Lormont. We know that Cubarsí is quick on the ball. We know Cubarsí's passing, whether it's short or long, is second to none. Again, the stats show this stuff. Look it up. Look it up. Cubarsí's passing is second to none from the back, skipping defensive lines, finding Lamine charging. It wasn't meant to be. Mingueza had to start. Lormont had to start. Hauser had to start. And again, I think they're fine players. I think Mingueza was not so fine. uh, but then again, neither was Pedro. Oh, I thought Pedro Balde. The name of Balde has to come up. Cucu and su paella are great, but you cannot excuse, therefore, not calling upon a Alejandro Balde, who arguably is the best left back for Spain. Arguably, at least at the very least, needs to be included, and he wasn't. Um, Fermin Lopez, Gavi, Dani Olmo, the biggest of all. Revulsivos. Revulsivos. No sé cómo traducirlo. I don't know how to translate that directly. It's those that come off the bench that ignite a spark, right? That ignite something fresh, something new, something creative. Give a little je ne sais quoi, a little added touch of ping brilliance, unpredictability. The man let all that and then some sit on the bench while he took off the best players that Spain have. With all respects to Oyarzabal, with all respects to, I mean, why wasn't Mikel Merino coming in? Why wasn't, why Morata? I get it's easier said in hindsight. It is 2020 in the end, not the year, but the hindsight. Morata has missed something like 7 penalties of the 20 something he has taken. Yikes! Why? You got to bring him in. Here, some are speculating that it was due to a docu-series, a Netflix documentary or docu-series, I don't know yet, that he has coming out. The Spain captain, who has been barely and barely been getting playing time for Galatasaray, has got a penalty track record, 7 of 8 missed penalties. The man puts him on. I find that quite questionable, if I'm being soft, appalling, if I'm being harsh. And for Lamine Yamal, look, he took him in extra time for Yeremi Pino, who I think has been fine throughout the season. I don't know if you want to take a Lamine Yamal off, despite the fact that, as I said at the top of the show, it wasn't his game. It wasn't his game. But are you going to improve it with a Pino? I just don't think so. And that is despite the fact that he had lost an incredible amount of one-to-one possessions. Trying to look at the stat, I had it up earlier. Lamine Yamal, 3 shots, 2 on target. They were not really dangerous. 1 key pass, 1 big chance created for Thubimendi that led in a goal, as a matter of fact. So that was goal. 21 ball losses, absurdly so. And surprisingly so. 7 of 17 duels won. 0 from 5 crosses completed. Not a good game for the 17-year-old that now is under the scrutiny to lose the Balón de Oro. And I think, like I said in passing at the beginning, at the top of the show, it was between Dembele and Lamine Yamal. This Nations League was setting up Lamine Yamal to be a more logical option. I say logical despite the fact that we lost out on the Champions League while Dembele won that for QSG. But you look at the numbers this season, Lamine Yamal beats him on all front, on individual numbers. The only one where Dembele has one up over the teenage superstar is having won the Champions League. this Nations League, with the Club World Cup still coming, of course, another chance where Ousmane Dembele can have that bragging rights of course, winning, potentially winning or participating in that, as well as having a standout tournament individually, goals, assists. That will all add on. It adds on recency bias, and I'm okay with that. I'm really okay with that because I don't think the Nations League is an important trophy. I think if you want to put it, the collective objectives in order, it's Champions League, domestic league. I think obviously La Liga weighs far heavier than the Farmers League, Liga. The domestic cup, again there, Copa del Rey outshines Le Coupe. Le Cup? Champions League won by QSG, finally after spending 162 billion over the course of the last 2+ decades or so. And individually, Lamine takes the cake. So these are all add-ons. The Super Cup, Spanish Super Cup is an add-on for Lamine. Individual stats is an add-on. The Nations League would have been an add-on. And the Club World Cup, I think, ranks underneath the Nations League, given the fact that the Nations League right now has a little bit more pedigree, slightly, not 2019 again, I think, or 18. I think it's 19. Yeah, it is because it's no, is it? Yeah, I think it's 2019. Club World Cup, we will see where it will rank and how good he will do or not. But this was a missed opportunity because he has set the bar so high, Lamine Yamal. He set the bar so high that in a final where he doesn't show up, he will get the criticism that any superstar will receive after failing to win a final. And quite frankly, it's kind of a first for him because in the semifinals, you could not point a finger at Lamine Yamal and say, hey, Barça lost because of this guy. No, he was very present and definitely wasn't the reason why a Barça didn't defeat Inter or why Spain didn't, or he was the reason for even Spain advancing into the final after the game against France. And for that matter, the goddamn reason why Spain won the Euro Cup in the first place. For those of you circling back to Luis de la Fuente is a good coach that hold Luis de la Fuente at a high regard, we cannot anymore. We cannot, after the substitution, seeing what took place in the semifinal where you take off your best players, your Pedris and Lamine Yamals, and France nearly, goddamn it, pull in a miraculous comeback, ending the game 5-4 as opposed to 5-1 or 5-2. And then, now again, against Portugal, you take off maybe not your best players on the day, but certainly you don't bring on the revulsivos, those kind of players that could make an impact and make a difference. You leave all the Barça players, the best players, the most informed players all season on the bench. Why not a Dani Olmo? Why not a Fermín López? I get why some think that Luis de la Fuente is pandering to the critical voices from the nation's capital that are trying to demerit the Barça narrative that is an evident and obvious one for the success of the Spanish national side, and try to also capture the hearts and minds of those Spanish fans that, as I mentioned in the last video on patreon.com/churrosytacticas, that rather support a France, a Germany, or in this case, a Portugal in the Nations League final. Let me know your thoughts. Those are mine. I'm going to leave it here. I would love to know your thoughts. I would love to know your impressions. I would love to know your feedback as to how to fix this goddamn latency and sound delay with regards to the image. I don't know why it is happening. but I don't want it to be like this because it means that I cannot go live, or at least I don't want to go live because of this delay. It's not good. I can't play my music. I can't freestyle. I can't, you know, give the show the senses, the look, touch, feel, and sound that I wanted to, and that bothers me greatly. With that being said, that is the ends of the show, and we are going to bids farewell. Como Dios manda. All right? Like God demands. With the tunes, it has been a great one. I was looking for that. I was trying to stretch out that intro for as long as possible. Well, with the tunes, we are going to bid farewell. Make sure that you join us tomorrow. Boom, to boom, to boom. I will be back tomorrow with another live, and I will do so with the buddy, with the homie Kian Sobani, who I know cannot wait to exchange words with me. I am sure that he has talked about the Hausen performance, although a very good signing for Real Madrid. Definitely allowed Portugal to get back in the game, allow Cristiano Ronaldo to capture the headlines and win that second Nations League for his beloved Portugal. The 40-year-old who was very elegant in the pre-game press conference and post-match as well, allowing, or begging rather, the media, asking the media to not be too demanding and not too harsh neither on the young boy called Lamine Yamal, and give him time to develop his football. Let me share my screen real quick in these final minutes here, because I nearly forgot. I did want to mention this. One of our patrons asked or mentioned the fact that, hey, he said, well, why couldn't you appreciate Vinny last season? Instead, you're calling him provocative. My friend, Vinny was provocative. Thaps. He was a provocative, and that is what cost him the Balón de Oro. It's because people didn't like his attitude. But Ruben Valderrama saying, FYI, Lewandowski and Mbappe had the same amount of penalties this season in all competitions. So I actually missed this, but what I was alluding to was La Liga, though, and I just wanted to highlight that I wasn't making it up when I said that in La Liga, the Frenchman has enjoyed a plethora of penalty shots, 7 in comparison to the 3 for Lewandowski, and that has really won him the Pichichi title. In all competitions, it was a very close call. In the La Liga, I think he won by 4. You see, 27 goals for Lewandowski to the 31. In all competitions, 52 games for Lewandowski, 56 for Mbappe, 43 goals to the 42 for Lewandowski, 5 assists for Mbappe in all competitions. And yes, penalties is 8-7. So Mbappe in all competitions has had 8 penalties compared to the 7 for Lewandowski in all competitions. But the point I was referring to was La Liga. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 compared to the 3 for Lewandowski in La Liga. So thank you, Valderrama, for pointing that out. But yeah, my point was referring to esto, the La Liga Pichichi race. In any case, love you. Thank you all for supporting. I don't ever say this, but drop a freaking like. I need to start doing this a whole lot more aggressively and strategically. Drop a like to this video to make sure that the YouTube algorithm knows that, hey, you're enjoying this content and maybe somebody else would as well. As you know, I do tend to go on in these monologues without mentioning that, but I do also pretend to make this channel grow and make this my livelihood. I'm in the midst of it. I stepped away from my beloved Barça on a full-time basis just to dedicate more time to express myself freely, and for that I do need your help. So your help is appreciated by exactly that, just dropping a like. Please recommend a friend or two. We're going to see you tomorrow with the Kian Sobani for Churros. And set a reminder, the notifications, you'll always be notified. Set it, hit it, subscribe, notifications, like, share. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye. Thank you.